The current Subnautica 2 situation is a complete and insane mess, and I've been through all of it, so I can explain everything properly to you, my sweet friends and slightly but yet firmly related step cousins. Before we start, though, I would like to make a disclaimer. Please do not get emotional about this situation. The moment you get emotional about any of this information, you're gonna lose the plot. So, if you want to make a decision on which side is right, and spoiler alert, not both sides look kind of wrong here at the moment, at least for me. Wait until the end because there's a lot of twists and turns. There's actually a lot of things that need to be covered and a lot of things that need to be explained because both sides are kind of lying a lot through obfuscation in this situation. So, without further ado, let's start. Now, all of the Subnautica 2 stuffs happened with Crafton, the parent company of Subnautica 2, firing pretty much their 3 to 4 main CEOs, the people who initially made the game. And instantaneously, one of the biggest CEOs went on Twitter and started saying bad things about Crafton. That instantaneously followed by a boycott from Reddit. This received 35k upvotes, which is an unbelievable amount, by the way, and people were saying do not buy Subnautica 2. I covered this situation, and I'm not going to explain again, but this is actually a super big deal that could fail the game Subnautica 2 and the company in general. Time is going to show how it actually ends, but currently, that was the initial response. But this did not sit right to me, because when I covered this, and who's that handsome guy right there? I would do a reach around if you know what I'm saying to him. But anyway, I covered this, and to my surprise, and this video, by the way, has 90% upvote, 91% upvote, now 92% upvotes. And every single person in this video comments, my video's comments, was essentially saying, you know what, those devs are, those CEOs, those initial devs are actually kind of not great people when they have done a lot to damage the game. And they're kind of happy that they are fired. And that was the opinion of a lot of people, which is very interesting considering Reddit is, by the way, currently on the full side of the CEOs that got fired and replaced by the Crafton sock puppet. Well, instantaneously, after the views of the masses turned against Crafton, Crafton came out and literally just said, and by the way, large companies pretty much never do this, because this instantaneously allows them to get sued very, very much easily. Companies do not do this typically, small or big, unless they have concrete proof that they're going to get away with this. And effectively what happened, Crafton just instantaneously went out and said that the former CEOs are actually shit. They didn't do their job. They didn't want to do anything. One of the CEOs is literally currently, by the way, working on a AI Christmas movie in the middle of the summer? Yeah, I wish that was a joke, but that's currently happening. So effectively, the old CEOs of Subnautica are kind of completely out of the picture, and they obviously got replaced because none of them wanted to do their jobs. And now they're making a fuss about being replaced. And instantaneously, the CEOs started then swinging back at Crafton about this situation, and instantaneously, in a matter of days, the ex-CEOs started saying, "Oh, you know what's happening with the Subnautica 2 delay? Well, actually, Crafton is firing us and delaying the game, even though it's perfectly right." Which, by the way, hindsight is a lie. Well, a lie as much as anyone can tell from the resources that we currently have. The CEOs say that Crafton is effectively delaying the game because if they did not delay the game, well, there would be a 250 million bonus that Crafton would have to pay out the Subnautica team. And here the key emphasis on the word team. Not the CEOs, but team. This is very important for the future. So, instantaneously, everyone, plus Jason, everyone knows him, very reliable source, obviously Schreier, instantaneously came out and said Subnautica 2 delayed reportedly to 2026, allegedly to avoid 250 million bill. Now, this all sounds pretty devastating for Crafton. At this point, a lot of people instantaneously decided, you know what? From the awfully amazing sides of here's a bunch of multi-million CEOs, and here's a multi-million-dollar company, that the multi-million-dollar company is the one to blame for the situation, because clearly they do not want to give out a 250 million bonuses to the hard-working developers that we love so much, right? Well, turns out, not exactly. Not exactly. Crafton instantaneously comes out and says, this is not exactly true. We, personally, are completely fine with giving these bonuses, which, by the way, spoiler alert, obviously Crafton is not gonna be willing to just give 250 million to people for nothing if they can actually avoid it. It is a company at the end of the day, so if they can, they will avoid this scenario. So the CEO situation is kind of a easy way for them to avoid this scenario in general. But in any case, Crafton says that they're not that's not their plan and they don't want to do it. They're pushing the game back because it's not finished. The CEOs say, well, actually, it's really finished for being in the beta and whatnot. It's really good. It's actually almost completely done. And here is the most damning piece of evidence that that pretty much no one is showing. This is what's currently allegedly in the game. Currently in Subnautica 2. Biomes, 1 region, creatures, 12 creatures, 2 Leviathans, equipment, gameplay, specs, narrative, only 1 chapter. But, see, this is the thing. This is what Crafton claims should have been in the game now. Right now, at this point. And that's a lot. Like, this is 60% more creatures in the game. This is a whole second region. This is potentially 2 more chapters of the story, not to mention way more gameplay and everything else. So, currently what's in the game is not even close to what should have currently been in the game. And Crafton directly is blaming the CEOs for not doing anything for this. And Crafton came out and said, well, you know that 200 million that these people said that the developers are gonna get? Well, here's a little bit of a kicker about that 250 million that we're not paying out the developers. Turns out 90% of that 250 million was gonna go to 3 CEOs, the 3 big dogs. And the rest of the 10%, probably at this point, it's kind of safe to assume that would have went for the 4th big dog that was there. And then instantaneously, the biggest person from the CEOs that's currently here, Charlie Cleveland, by the way, notice the pride flag, comes out with this statement. And from this statement, this is the most important part. As for the earnings, the idea that Max, Ted, and I wanted to keep all of it for ourselves is totally untrue. Why is it untrue? I'm in this industry because I love it, not for riches. That's strange considering Crafton is claiming that the 3 of you have literally done absolutely dick all anything for Subnautica 2, and that's why it's behind on things. That you are currently way more inclined to do your side projects and hobbies than actually make the game. That's a very bold statement, by the way. Historically, we've always shared our profits with the team and did the same when we sold the studio. Now, I tried to Google this and I found nothing. This is the closest that I found. A Reddit post saying that Unknown Worlds, aka the studio behind Subnautica 2, we're not going to share 250 million. This is partially in reference to the 90-10% split, but I'm not gonna read all of this. This is kind of useless. If you want, just pause I'm marking where you need to read, and just read for yourself if you feel like it. This would have never happened. Now, granted, considering even 10% of 250 million is still 25 millis, okay? And for 100 people, that's potentially 250k each. Still an absolutely life-changing amount of money that they are missing out on. But as far as for the claim that they have historically always shared communism style with their riches and earnings, Google found me absolutely nothing. In fact, again, this is the only thing that I found on that subject. I have not found a single subject that says the company owners of Subnautica are sharing with their team the riches they got from the game sales. Absolutely found nothing in that regard. So it's kind of easy to assume that it's most likely lies for the moment. Further of all, which proves this most likely, kind of to a degree. This is circumstantial evidence, but this is pretty decent evidence. Is the fact that, well, if they made this deal with Crafton, and if they wanted to redistribute the wealth to their workers, why not just make the deal for them to get less of a percent and more of that percent going to the workers, not a 90-10% split, and then they claim, oh, we're gonna give this money to the workers. Yeah, doesn't seem too reasonable, considering, again, they could have just instantaneously taken themselves less percent and given all the other people a higher percent. But yeah, here they are being Robin Hood, effectively, or at least posing as Robin Hood. You can be damn sure we'll continue with the earnout bonus as well. They describe it for their they deserve it. Excuse me, for all their incredible work trying to get the great game into your hands. The game that allegedly you have done absolutely nothing to make. Also, Crafton called them out directly for the failure of Moonbreaker. Or I think it's Moonbreaker, aka another game that this studio was doing under the leadership of these CEOs that completely fucking flopped. I think it's Moonbreaker, I may be wrong, but there is a game that these guys made and failed, and Crafton directly said it's their fault. And again, these companies do not directly contribute blame because that's instantaneously liable, okay? These people can directly sue Crafton for saying this type of stuff. So when a company feels that they are safe enough to say something like that about their ex-CEOs, you know it's typically bad. You know it's really bad. And again, and currently we're at the point where the ex-bosses of Subnautica are now suing Crafton, and they want their money. I have a feeling that they're not going to be suing by... I'm kind of feeling that they're gonna be asking for 250 million, and they're not really gonna be willing to share with their ex-employees. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who honestly knows? Oh, but yeah, the ex-bosses, the guys who got replaced, are now suing Crafton to get their money's worth. And again, I'm pretty sure they're suing for the full 250 million. Now, and this is where the situation currently kind of stops. There's no more information, there's nothing. So, to recap everything, CEOs get fired, make a shitstorm about it, Crafton responds, literally saying, wait, these CEOs are actually trash, they literally did nothing, and one of them is literally currently trying to make a fucking AI Santa movie in summer. Again, instead of actually making the game. And, by the way, is Crafton trying to avoid paying out the 250 million bonus? Obviously. 100%. But these people at the same time are trying to use the 250 million bonus and distort the truth about it. And they're effectively using language that says, oh, this 250 million that was going to go for the workers is not going now for the workers because Crafton's delaying the game. And again, delaying the game does seem a little bit reasonable considering well, it's missing like more than 50% of the features when it was supposed to come out, which is technically not a good state to be in. So at the end of the day, the CEOs are definitely trash. But again, remember, Crafton's not exactly your friend. Okay? The situation is not good, but both sides are not really good. We can only hope for a good game, but that's pretty much honestly it. Pick who you want to hate, doesn't really matter to me, and well, thanks for watching, bye.